So while loop in Python. While is another type of loop. Again, the purpose of this while loop is similar to purpose of for loop. It is used to iterate over a block of code, right? As long as the condition or expression is true. Again, the use of a while loop is to iterate over a block of code, right? As long as the condition or expression is true. So this is the syntax of while loop. While we'll check this condition. If this condition is true, we'll execute this body, right? This is the body of the while loop. So the body of the loop is entered only if the test expression evaluates to true. Only when this expression is true, we'll execute this body of while loop. After one iteration, the text expression is checked again. That means after executing this body, we'll again check the expression. If this is true, we'll execute the body again. This process continues till as long as the condition is true. As soon as the condition becomes false, we'll quit this while loop and go out of this while loop, execute the remaining code. Okay, so this is the flowchart for the while loop. So here you see we enter the while loop, we check the condition first. If this condition is true, then only we'll execute the body of the while loop. So if this condition is false, if this test expression is false, we'll go out of the while loop, we'll exit the while loop. Okay. So let's see the example here. So this is an example of the while loop here. So we want to find again the product of these numbers. This is a list, right? So in this list, there are 5 numbers. We want to find the product. We'll take a variable called as product. So this product is equal to 1 to begin with. Product is equal to 1. And now we want, this list has indices. This is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll start at the number which is at the index 0. So that's why this index is initialized to 0. Index is 0 because I want to start at the number which is at index 0. So while index is less than this 4, less than equal to this 4 or less than equal to length of this list. Length of this list is 5. Though the length of this list is 5, the last number is at index 4, right? Because the list start at index 0. So we'll be we'll be starting at 0 and we'll be going till 4. So I can write this as while index is less than length of list will be 5, while index is less than 5, or I can write this as while index is less than equal to 4 or length of list minus 1. So both are same thing. So we'll check this condition. If this condition is true, we'll execute this body, right? So index is 0, 0 is less than 5. So condition true, we'll execute the body. What is the body? Body says product is equal to product into list of index, list of 0. Index this time is 0. So the product, the body is like this now. Product is equal to product into list of index is 0 this time. Index is 0. So product is 1. 1 into what is list of 0? List of 0 will return us 10. So this 10. So 1 into 10 is 10. So product is 10, right? So and then what I do is I increment the index. Index was 0. I'll take index to 1. All right. So this is called as increment part. It is important to do the increment. In the increment, or it may be sometimes decrement also. So it has to be done inside the body of the while loop. Otherwise, there is a chance that we may enter into the infinite loop. Right? Okay. So I make index is equal to 1. Index plus 1. Right? Index is equal to index plus 1. So after this, after executing the body of while loop, I go up and check the condition again. So this time index, this condition is true. Index has become 1 now. Index has become 1. Index is equal to 1. So condition true. I execute the body again. So what I do, product is equal to product into list of 1, right? Because index is 1 this time. So product is 10, right? 10 into list of 1 will give me 20, right? So 10 into 20 will be 10 into 20 will be 200, right? So the product is 200 so far. So I repeat this as long as this index is less than 5. That means I'll repeat this till index as long as index as soon I mean till index reaches to 4, right? So as soon as index becomes 5, this condition becomes false. So we'll come out of this while loop, and out of this while loop we'll print this statement. Product is, this bracket will be replaced by this product, right? And so by that time the value of product will become this one, right? Okay, so this is the example of while loop. So now let's see what is called as while loop with the else. While loop with the else. So here is the while loop with else. So this will enter this else part. Will enter this else part if after we exhaust this list, right? So same as that of for loop, we can have an optional else block with the while loop as well. The else part will be executed if the condition in the while loop evaluates to false. As soon as this condition becomes false, we'll go in else part. The while loop can be terminated with a break statement as we did for loop, right? So here, this again will be printing this. Okay, okay. So what we are doing here is, okay. So index is initialized to 0. Index is initialized to 0 here. So while this index is less than length of the list, list is number, name of the list is numbers. So that means this index can take values from 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 4. As soon as index becomes 5, we'll quit this while loop, right? But as long as this index is in this range, right, this condition will remain true. This condition will be true. When this condition is true, we'll execute this. What will you do? Print numbers index, right? So when index is 0, numbers 0 will print, numbers 0 will print. So number 0 is 1 in this case. Now again we'll increment this index. Index is equal to index plus 1. So index becomes 1. The index was 0 already. So index becomes 1. So we go up. We check is this condition true? Yes, the condition is true. We print the numbers. Print the numbers of 1. Numbers of 1 is 2. Right. So likewise we do this. Let's execute this and see. Okay, so this is what we will get, right? So what we are doing is we are simply printing the numbers in this numbers list, right, starting from 0 till this 4, right? Okay, but as soon as this condition becomes false, we'll go in the else part of this while loop, right? So while with else. So when this condition becomes false, we'll execute this else, right? So this statement will be printed after this. Okay, so then let's see the program to check, Python program to check whether if the given number is prime or not. So let's say we will take input from the user, right? This statement input will allow us to enter the number from the keyboard, right? So this statement will create this input box. Here user will enter the number, and that entered number will be by default a string that will be, for example, let's say user enters 23. So this 23 will be considered as a string. So we want to typecast, we want to convert that 23 into integer. That's why this int, this is called as typecasting. This will allow user to enter the number, right? So this statement actually creates this input box where user enters a number. So that number will be treated as a string. So we want to convert that string into a number. That's why we'll do this typecasting. So this is a typecasting, or converting this string into a number. And then we assign that to the variable number. So number actually stores an integer value entered by user. Let's say in this case it is 23. Now we want to check whether this 23 is divisible. 23 is prime or not. So how will I check that? So in order to check this, whether this 23 is prime or not, I will divide this 23 from 2 till 2 till 22. I will divide this 23 by all these numbers from 2 till 22, because this is number is 23, so that's will go only till 22. I'll divide this 23 by 2 and check whether this 23 is divisible by 2 or not. If not, then I'll go to 3. I'll divide this 23 by 3. If not divisible, then I'll go to 4. Likewise, right? So I'll check whether this 23 is divisible by any of this number, right? If this 23 is not divisible by any of this number, I'll declare that this 23 is prime. Otherwise, this 23 is not a prime. That means if this 23 is divisible by one of these numbers, I'll say that this 23 is not prime. So that's what we are doing here. Okay, so that's why we are beginning with is divisible as false, right? That means we are assuming this 23, assumption is this 23 is not divisible. That's the assumption. If later we find this 23 is divisible, we'll make this assumption, we'll change this assumption, right? So I is 2 because we are starting from 2 till 22. This 23 is just an example I'm taking, right? But in general, this is a number, right? This number may be anything, 23, 24, 25, 100, whatever, right? So while I is less than number, right? So we are starting our I at 2. I will be starting at 2 and it will go till number minus 1, right? So when I is, let's say 2, we'll execute this body. What we are doing this in this body, we are dividing the number, that is 23, by I, right? So I is 2, we are dividing this 23 by 2, right? And if that is divisible, if this 23 is divisible by 2, that means we get a remainder as 0. This percent will return us remainder. Number percent I means number, 23 percent 2, 23. If this 23 is not divisible, we'll get some remainder. Otherwise, if this 23 is divisible, we'll get remainder as 0. So we'll get remainder 0 when this 23 is divisible. So if the remainder is 0, that means the number is divisible. So we'll change our assumption to true. That means the number is divisible, and we'll say that print this number, this will be replaced by this number, right? Number, whatever number we have, is divisible by this, right? And then we'll again increment our I, because our I will go from 2 to that number minus 1, right? So and for all of that, we'll check whether that number is divisible by I or not. If it is divisible, we'll print the number and we'll change this assumption, right? Okay, so then after, when we come out of this while loop, we'll check what is divisible. If is divisible, that means if this is true, that means the number is divisible, number is not prime, so we'll print that the number is not prime, right? Otherwise, if is divisible is false, then we'll go in else. If is divisible is false, we'll go in else, and there we'll print the number is prime. So let's execute this and see. So let's enter 23 here. So 23 will enter. So 23 is a prime number. We get 23 because 23 is a prime number. So right, that's why we are getting 23. Now if I enter something else, if I enter some number which is not prime, right? So let me enter 200, right? 200 is not a prime number, right? So you see, we'll get a list. 200 is divisible by what all numbers divides 200. That list we'll get because we are printing, right? As soon as we find, we are starting from 2, no? As soon as we find this 200 is divisible by 2, we are printing this, right? This 200 is divisible by 4, we are printing that, right? So and so. And ultimately, we will have this is divisible as false, right? Sorry, true, because this 200 is divisible. So we'll print 200 is not a prime number.